Today we are working on order of operations with nested groupings, and when we do nested groupings there's really not much different to the order of operations. The only thing we're adding in is some brackets, and we solve the brackets just like we use parentheses. So when solving the order of operations problems with brackets or nested groupings, you want to start with the innermost grouping first, and let's look at an example. So I'm going to use a highlighter to kind of help me. So I have remember when you do the order of operations, you do grouping, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. I need to look at my grouping first. So I'm going to start with the bracket. And if you look inside the bracket, it's kind of like its own mini order of operations problem. So I have to look at this and I say, okay, well, what order of operations problem would I solve first that is inside that grouping? Well, I would do the -8 minus 7, and -8 minus 7 is -15. I'm going to keep it in parentheses just so I don't make a mistake. Use the bracket still, divided by -8. Now I still have the bracket, and I need to figure out, okay, well, what am I going to do next inside that bracket? Am I going to do the exponent, or am I going to do the subtraction? I need to do the exponent of 1 to the first power, which is 1, minus -15, divided by -8. Okay, last step, I'm going to finish the bracket. Now remember, these are the dancing negatives, so they turn into a big plus. So that's really 1 plus 15, which is 16, divided by -8. And then the last step is 16 divided by -8, which is -2. So it's not much different from what we've already been doing in class, but it's just you have to pay attention to that bracket. And like I said, I like to use a highlighter so I can highlight the little mini problem that I'm solving first. Now, the next example, I need to make a change to this problem. I want you to scratch out this part right here. So we're just going to ignore that beginning part. Alright, so the whole thing is technically in brackets now. So the first thing I'm going to solve is the absolute value right here. So 3 plus 10 would be 13, and then absolute value keeps it positive, so it's really positive 13. And then if I do grouping, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract, I'm still working within my grouping. I don't have any exponents. And then I have some multiplication and division. 9 times 1 is 9, plus -5, bracket, minus 13, bracket. No more multiplication, division. I need to finish my addition, subtraction. I work from front to back. So -5 plus 9 would be 4, minus 13. You can leave it in the bracket, and then 4 minus 13 would be -9. Alright, let's look at number 1 again together, and I'm going to use my highlighter again. I have grouping, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. Do I have any groupings? Yes, I have a bracket, so I'm going to highlight that bracket that I need to solve. What would I do first inside of that bracket? Well, I'm going to do the parenthesis first, so that's 2 minus 16. 2 minus 16 is -14 times 8, close bracket, divided by -5, minus 3, open bracket. I still have my brackets here to solve. What am I going to do first inside that bracket? Well, I need to do the multiplication. -14 times 8 would be -112. If you want to leave it in parentheses, that's fine. Minus 3. Divide by -5. I still have my bracket. I have one step left. These are the dancing negatives. Negative, negative becomes a plus. 3 plus 112 would be 115, divided by -5. And then the last step would be 115 divided by -5. And remember, with the triangle, addition at a positive at the top, negatives on the bottom. A positive times a negative is a negative, so my answer is -23. So I want you to pause, and I want you to try number 2 on your own, and then when you're ready, unpause the video and we can check it together. So if we look at this first problem, we have a bracket to solve. I'm going to look inside the bracket. I need to do the parentheses first. So 18 minus 4 was 14, so I have 1 minus bracket 14 divided by 7 times 4. Finish the bracket is 14 divided by 7, which is 2, times 4. Now I have my multiplication to do. 2 times 4 is 8. And I have 1 minus 8 is negative 7. So there's your answer for number 2. If you're stuck here, make sure you pause the video and you come see your teacher so that we can go over it before you get to the next page. Alright, so let's look at the next page. I want you to try number 3 and number 4 on your own. When you're ready, unpause the video and I can show you the answers for those. So your first step in solving this one is you have to do 7 times 3 is 21. Your next step would be to add these together. Negative 6 plus 21 is 15. Then you need to divide. 30 divided by 15 is 2. And then negative 5 minus 2. If you struggle with seeing these are the same signs, you can add in that little baby plus sign right there because we're always combining. So it's negative 5 plus negative 2 is negative 7. Now for number 4, you have that bracket to do, but absolute value you're going to do first. 6 times negative 2 would be negative 12, but because it's an absolute value, it'll be positive 12. Finish the bracket, so I have 12 plus 4, which is 16. Do the division. I get negative 4. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. Remember your triangle. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. And these have different signs, so you get 12. Okay. I want you to pause the video now, and I want you to do 5 and 6 on your own. Unpause the video when you're ready to go over your work. So the first thing you need to do in this one is you're going to do the parentheses there. Negative 16 times 7 is 112, and it's negative 112. And then we have plus 4 plus negative 6, bracket, divide by 10. And then we are going to add those two together. So we have the bracket negative 108 plus negative 6 divided by 10. Finish our adding there. They have the same sign, so we're going to add them together. Negative 114 divided by 10. And a lot of you, I bet, got stuck right here. If you write it as a fraction, you can divide it by 2 to simplify. And you get negative 57 over 5. That was a trick one. I apologize for having that on there. And then number 6, you're going to do, you can do this absolute value first if you want to. It's not wrong if you didn't. And then I'm going to come inside the bracket and I'm going to do the 18 minus 2, which is 16. Then I'm going to finish the bracket. 16 divided by negative 8, which is negative 2. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. Do your multiplication. So that's negative 2 times 4, which is negative 8. Positive times a negative is a negative. Now I have add, subtract left. I just have to go in line. 17 plus negative 8 is 9 plus 15. And 9 plus 15 is 24. Okay, last two problems. I want you to pause the video here. I want you to try number 7 and number 8 on your own. So for number 7, you need to do that multiplication first. So 1 times negative 5 would be negative 5. Then you need to finish the bracket. 2 plus negative 5 would be negative 3. They have different signs. Find the difference. And then I need to do the division. 36 divided by negative 3 is negative 12. Positive divided by a negative is a negative. And then last step, I have the dancing negative signs, the negative negatives. So I have, it's really plus, so it's negative 12 plus 8, which is negative 4. And then the last one is number 8. I'm going to do the bracket first. I'm going to do the 5 plus 7, which is 12. Then I'm going to do finish the bracket. I'm going to do the multiplication. 12 times negative 6 is negative 72. Positive times a negative is a negative. Do my division. 72 divided by negative 72 would be a negative 1. I have that negative negative there. Dancing negatives turn into a plus. So that'd be 7 plus 9. 7 plus 9 is 16. Make sure if you had any questions that you check in with your teacher, and we can make sure we go over them before you do your Socrative.